There are 265 MIAA boys and girls ice hockey teams in the state of Massachusetts. Across 4 divisions for the boys and 2 for the girls, 192 of those will have a chance to compete for a state title. But only 6 will get to celebrate on the ice of TD Garden. So if you want to play hockey in March, this is the moment to prove that you deserve that opportunity.
We love beating Danvers. I mean, it's big every year. Every time we play Danvers, no matter how good their team is that year, they always somehow put up a fight against us. And I know it meant a lot to the standings and stuff, but it did mean a lot to us too.
You know, it's always a fight with Danvers, so we had a healthier lineup then, so we had some of our guys back, so that game was very important for us.
Yeah, we had to win. It was a must-win game, and anything can happen, and we just played them a tight 2-1 game, I think. And they're coming for us.
So we keep them out of the power play, out of special teams. We give ourselves a huge chance to win tonight. Okay, and Riley DeHaan will have our back in the net. Let's not forget we're sitting at 500. We're going above 500, boys, okay? Sense of urgency. Want positive energy. Positive emotion. Everybody pulling for each other. Positive body language, short, rhythmic shifts. Let's get pucks in deep. Let's go to work on the forecheck. But let's be no doubt about it that we are the harder working team today. Okay, the harder working team wins. Okay, it's a huge game for us. We're taking off where we left off, and we're going even further. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go, Riley.
3 banners hang behind the benches at the Dorothy Talbot rink. For any Gloucester High School hockey player wanting a reminder of what they're playing for, they simply need just look back over their shoulder. A state championship is, for many high school athletes, the pinnacle of their athletic success. But don't take it from me. Hear it from the men who played, won, and tell the tales to this day. Sometimes the road to the top starts at its lowest, and in 1992, even outside of hockey, the town of Gloucester, Massachusetts needed someone to lift them up.
There was some things that happened during that year that, nobody likes to talk about. Tragic and sad. But hopefully for those people who were really hurting during that time, Gloucester hockey gave them something to cheer about, something to look forward to and take their mind off things.
The record doesn't indicate it, but we were still a competitive team, right? We used to outshoot teams 2 and 3-1, and we'd lose 3-1 on the scoreboard, right? So, we were in a lot of games, we just didn't win a lot of games. So there was always a sense of confidence with the upperclassmen, those, leading up to it, but we just couldn't push it over the finish line and keep them out of the net, essentially, is kind of what it came down to.
To reach the hockey summit, a change was needed behind the bench. And boy, did Gloucester find the right man to lead their hockey team back to relevance.
So I came in with Dana, so we learned together. He was really good at commanding the locker room. You know, you knew who ran the show. Discipline and work ethic and conditioning were tops on his list.
Yeah, Coach Knowlton brought in a fresh sense of confidence, a fresh sense of belief, right, and a breath of fresh air that we hadn't had. And, you know, I just want to go back a little bit and pay respects to Coach Paul Riley, who I had 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9, 10, and 11. So the seniors that year, we had Coach Riley for 6 straight years, right? And he taught us team defense. He taught us defense first, right? Coach Knowlton comes in, and it was a breath of fresh air because it was just something a little bit different. It wasn't, you know what I mean? It wasn't anything Dana taught us from an ice hockey perspective as much as it was a confidence booster, right? Like, he had us believing in ourselves that, you know what, you guys can be special, you guys can be a great team. And it's, you know, it was one game at a time. And, you know, that's kind of how it went.
They knew it before anyone else did. But that locker room was loaded with talent. Men who would go down in history as some of Gloucester's most iconic athletes.
Well, obviously, as a public school team, you know, you grew up with these guys. So, you know, Nick, I never played hockey with him growing up, but I always knew who he was. So when we came into that locker room, it was definitely a lighthearted atmosphere. And I think that just goes a long way. I mean, everybody on the team knew their roles. Everybody on the team, you know, the expectations were, you know, put in front of you.
Darryl Sepler was a great offensive player. Jeremy Jewell was a great offensive player. Chris O'Brien was a great offensive defenseman, right? He was always up in the rush. He was always making a play. He was big on the blue line. And Mike Interanti was just a stand-up, stellar goaltender. We called him Tarantula because he just made ridiculous saves. And that name carries through with him today.
For that particular team, the upperclassmen just, they welcomed you in with open arms. And for us younger guys, it was just a whole new world.
From the second they hit the ice, it was obvious to anyone who watched. This team was different.
You know what? I think early on that year we adopted kind of a slogan that said, it's astonishing how far a team can go if nobody cares who gets the credit. And I don't think anybody cared in the locker room who scored the goal. You know, as long as we won the game, that was the key. And I think we kind of adopted that slogan, and we believed in that slogan. And I think it helped carry us to the end.
As we went, you could see the people around you getting really excited for what was going on and getting really happy. And, you know, people started showing up to the rink, even the away games. You know, we come out of the locker room and the place would be packed. So I think for people who followed Gloucester hockey, they were super excited.
Marblehead was a tough team. Saugus was a tough team. The Northeastern Conference back in the day was pretty solid. I mean, I think Beverly was pretty good. Danvers, obviously, Marblehead. I never woke up the next morning after a game as sore as I was when we played in Saugus the second time around.
With the town captivated by the legendary turnaround, Gloucester hit the ground running in the state tournament, smoking Canton and Hanover by scores of 3-0 and 5-2. Knowlton is on record crediting the line of Jason Harrington, John Carvelis, and Zach Smith for their shutdown play in the game.
As hockey players, we were in awe of BU as it was, right? So you had Jack Parker, legendary coach, his ice. So we idolized Boston University at the time, right? So to be, you know, down in those dressing rooms on their ice was incredible, and the game was just an absolute battle.
It was just in-your-face hockey.
It came down to goaltending for us. It was a 1-1 game late into the third, and Interanti stood on his head again. And then Yanni, our Finnish exchange student, came across the red line and he snapped one on and, you know, found the back of the net.
I remember being on the bench and Yanni come over the blue line and took a shot. I think it went 5-hole. Kind of threw a screen, bounced around, boom. And I could remember the puck hitting the back of the net. I could see it. And I mean, that place went bananas. And one of the coolest moments was after we scored the goal, I think Boston Latin called timeout. and our coach was trying to talk to us. Couldn't hear what he was saying. The place, just for 5 minutes strong, was going crazy.
All those little wins leading up to the Garden, it made it so it's like, how do you not believe?
After a convincing victory in the Final Four over Franklin, the town was prepping for a date with destiny on the ice of the Garden. Not the one we know now. I'm talking the old Boston Garden.
Oh, it was coolest hockey experience of my life. It was just the whole lead up to that game was what was really cool about it is, like I said, the town was going crazy. We had pep rallies before we left, walking out on that ice that day, seeing half the Garden with just all Gloucester fans. It was surreal and one of the coolest hockey experiences of my life.
It still feels surreal, to be honest with you, right? Because it happened so quick. You come out into the big lights, and you see the banners up in the rafters, and it's still kind of hard to put to words 30-something years later, because again, it was the original Boston Garden. It's where the Bruins were built, right? It's where the storied franchise happened, right? So it's unreal, surreal is I would say is the word. But again, we had a sense of belief in each other, in the team.
I think that first period was just like a lot of teams. You're caught up in the moment. The big lights are on, and sometimes you don't play to your capabilities. And then we came in after that first period, and we had a team talk, and everybody looked around at each other, and we said, we're at the big show right now. Let's go get it done. We did. We came out, and I think we came out of that second period 2-2, and it was third period was kind of seemed like the game was in our favor at that point.
You know what? We just never stopped believing, right? In all the teams we faced in that tournament run, I'm not going to say they weren't the best team, but I don't believe they were the best team that we faced. And I think we had a little bit of a, deer in headlights moment out of the gate in the Garden. And then I think once we settled in and we knew we could play with them, we knew we could beat them. We just kind of found our little groove, and we scored enough. I think we scored. I think Darryl had a goal, and we just
The first one.
You did?
And then Ehart.
Okay.
And then Darryl.
Okay. And I just feel like once we got a couple goals, I felt, we aren't going to let another in. I mean, again, we had Interanti in net, and we had confidence. He didn't give up sloppy rebounds. He covered pucks. Defensively, we cleared pucks. So we weren't going to give up second and third shot chances and kind of cost ourselves a game at that point in the year.
Oh, it was tremendous. I mean, that's what you want as a high school hockey player. You want to be a state champ. I was lucky enough to do it right away, and it's followed me my whole life. I can tell you the day we did it, and when I see those guys on that particular day, we wish each other happy anniversary. It's just kind of what you do, and you always have that in your back pocket, and something that you can always look back on and be proud of.
There are no words really to still describe it 30-something years later. It was just, again, a sense of pride, a sense of accomplishment, right? Because we did it together, and it was truly the Cinderella season. Nobody expected this from our team that year because of our previous year, but when you tie in, solid goal scorers, solid defenders, and a superstar goalie, we had all the pieces, right? And a fresh coach with fresh ideas and fresh confidence, in a defensive-oriented team. I think it was the pinnacle. It really was. It was the pinnacle, and I feel that. I guess just the accomplishment.
I would just say that that '93 team put Gloucester on the landscape. We're the guys that brought Gloucester back to its glory days, and I feel like we're the team that got the city excited about hockey again. I was at that '98 game. I was at that '06 game. super proud for those guys and happy for them. And you know, of course, I'm going to sit here and tell you that you know, our championship is the best championship. It's the first one, you know. So, but yeah, no, I just say, you know, I think we got the city excited about hockey again, and it really just continued on, even to this day. And that's something that, you know, I always, you know, have my head up about.
Prior to that game, you know, there's 3 or 4 games before that, couldn't score, couldn't get anything to fall, and then, you know, finally got a rebound, was in the right place at the right time, just put it home, you know, all the emotions came out, and it was a good feeling going to playoffs.
And got the monkey off my back. Thanks to these two over here. The monkey off my back.
Wingers have more space on the wall. I feel like they should be a little stronger and skate a couple strides. And have more
Yes.
Yeah. You have space.
Sure. And make a play.
Yeah.
It's time to make
Rebounds. Got to crash the net.
Yeah. We got to sticks down.
Very good puck movement. Move the puck, boys. Okay. Move the puck. Good things happen. But everybody, pretty good compete. Great puck movement.
Yep.
But I felt like we had the foot off the gas pedal a little bit towards the end of about midway. You know, we're tilting the ice. We got to put the dagger in. Okay, it's a 1-goal game right now, even though it probably feels like it's a 3-goal game because we should have buried a couple. But you got to go out there like we're down 1 goal and we're pissed. Okay, because that team is not ready to play. It looks to me. So we got to tilt the ice and make them pay. So everybody in it for the team, everybody positive, short shifts, and we bury the hatchet on these guys right away, okay? It's a really good period.
Let's go, boys. Let's fucking bury this team.
Boys, let's come here and fucking put 5 in this game.
Yeah,
we're all over them.
1998 began with more questions than answers for Gloucester hockey. The program needed to replace a goalie with the most wins in school history. Losing a pair of top scorers and a shutdown defenseman left holes up and down the lineup. And the sting from the way 1997 ended was fresh in everyone's minds.
The year before, we were a strong team. I think we were undefeated in the conference that year, replacing a handful of senior captains.
All 3 years I played there, the expectation was win the Northeast Conference, make the tournament, and make a good run and win the state title. So that didn't change even with the losses, just because we all knew who we had sort of in-house.
Be some tough shoes to fill. They made it pretty far in the tournament the year before, so I think our group knew that we had to come in and step up at least to meet those expectations, and I think we all deep down knew that we could exceed them.
Expectations were the same. The status of the program from when they won in '93 to when we graduated in '99, it was Northeast Conference or state championship aspirations every year. So, despite we were replacing a lot of guys, but we had kids that were been waiting their turn, that were ready to go.
In my opinion, Dana was probably the best coach I've ever played for.
He was well respected with all the players. Wasn't a loud, in-your-face guy, but demanded respect.
Dana Nolan had high expectations of everyone. Players, assistant coaches, the guys showing up to help with goalie coaching.
It was a pretty big deal to make the Gloucester High School hockey team just with the success that they had. But Dana was a very intimidating in a good way. He commanded your respect. He demanded you played your hardest. And I mean, I think in my opinion, all of us came together and just bought into that.
I mean, I remember as a freshman, I got some playing time as a freshman early in the season. Maybe wasn't working as hard as I should have been or could have been, and sat on the bench for a little while after that. Like, you got to play when you deserved it. So I think, you make your players aware of the expectations that you have for them, and you hope they can reach that bar, and Dana did that. He did that very well. I think Dana Nolan, the coach, had always had high expectations, right? So the first step for a team is to make the tournament. I mean, expectations were high because we still had a lot of people coming back. It's not like we dropped 12 kids. We might have dropped 4 or 5 kids that were good players that needed to be replaced, but with a good system of younger players coming up. I would say the expectation after the 92-93 team, not just making the tournament, but going deep in the tournament, trying to win the tournament every single year. I think you set a high enough bar, and then those years that you actually manage to hit it is pretty good.
Yeah, we had a ton of guys, probably too many to name.
We were juniors that year. Some of the senior guys were like Rusty Tucker, who was a baseball guy through and through, went deep into baseball, with his life. But he was a solid defenseman for a high school hockey program. Good leadership qualities, maybe not wearing a C at the time, and then we had some younger guys, the guys the year below us, like Kevin Riley, Mikey Palazzola. I mean, these were players that maybe didn't have a ton of size on them, but were tenacious on the forecheck, on, just good hockey skill players. And Matt Borowski was a freshman who was really good. Keith Amaro was a huge presence from, leadership standpoint, and just doing the dirty stuff that hockey players need to do to make the game go well for you.
My line mate since I was 9 years old, Rob Parsons. It was easy when he jumped in on my line, and playing together for all those years, the chemistry was there, and I think the numbers kind of speak for themselves, just how easily we were able to play together and find each other and knew where each other were all the time.
Facing perhaps the largest challenge that season was Peter Sutera, who bore the task of succeeding Anthony Cusimano in net, who remains Gloucester's all-time wins by a goalie leader.
So I think as just a goalie in general, I think we're just all competitors. So I mean, Anthony and I, we're still pretty good friends. We competed those 2 years that I was with him. I'm a competitor in anything I do, so to me, it pushed me to go further the next season, or at least, and I still had a battle of my own because Steve Philbrook was our grade as well. So it wasn't just stepping in, I had to win that job too. So it was a stressful off season that year for sure, but I had the confidence in it to take the reins and move on.
In the lead up to the season, a poll was taken of the NEC conference coaches, predicting who would finish where in the standings. How should we say shots fired?
It was warranted. Saugus was up and coming. They had a lot coming back. We knew that they were going to be a factor, and as well as Danvers, and Winthrop was really strong that year, and even Beverly was pretty good. But yeah, I mean, of course it motivated us, but it wasn't like it was a huge shock to us.
Yeah, I mean, we used everything to motivate us. The preseason, who was going to win the title, the scoring title, all that stuff. We took note of all that and definitely used that as motivation.
The Division II top 5 was loaded with NEC rivals, and what ensued was arguably one of the greatest runs in state hockey history.
Yeah, see, Linfield, and obviously their program is where it is now. We knew they were good. They were a good team, and for them to get up on us, we weren't shocked. And Linfield's the type of team that if you don't play your A game, they could beat you that night. So we just got right back in it, and you know, we weren't looking past them at all. So we were able to just kind of jump in and take care of business.
I just think we believed in ourselves. We knew we were a better team than them at the time. It wasn't as much of a rival. We sort of had the upper hand most of the time with them. Since then, it's come back where there's more of a rivalry, but we went into that game expecting to win that game for sure.
Luckily for YouTube, we still have those games online, but we were down 1-0, I believe, and there was a play in the game where they actually had a breakaway, and I made the first save, and they actually it was a 2-on-0, and the second kid came down, and it was just one of those miracle saves that it's 1 in 50 you'll save it, and I reached out with my stick, and it was just, I'll never forget it, because that kind of turned the game.
Suits was solid all the time, right? So I think you just try to keep the ship steady, do the things that you're supposed to be doing, and you know, like forecheck, back check, get pucks deep. It's the kind of stuff I tell kids now that I'm coaching. You know, the little things in hockey are what matters, not the flash necessarily.
The rivalry lives on to this very day.
I mean, you kind of, when the brackets came out, Saugus is Masco was number 1, Saugus was 2, we're 3, and you just kind of look at it and you say, this is going to be a collision course to, you know, for the North Final.
I remember it being the most dramatic game that I've ever been a part of. Literally anybody could have won that game.
Yeah, I mean, that game was electric. Saugus was the team, right? So they were the conference rival. It's nice to jump into the tournament and play a few teams like Haverhill, Linfield that you don't necessarily see. And I don't know if we saw either of them during the regular season, probably not. But Saugus, you've played twice, right? So you know Sean Sullivan, you know who is coming at you.
When we lost to him at home earlier in the year, we got up on them, and luckily Pete Sutera held down the fort in the third period, because we were clock watching a little too much.
At 10 different points in the third period. Really, that was the state championship game. Once we got past that game, we had all the confidence in the world. That was a Sutera game, big time. We weren't able to put up a lot of points on them. They had a great defensive team, big team, and he sort of shut the door on them. That game was all on him for sure.
So I think that's probably the best game that I personally have played, even still college, high school, like that. Like some of the saves in that game, once again, it's like it was almost just meant to be. Like stuff just hit me on rebounds that any other day go in the net. It was almost just meant to happen. I think with under 2 minutes in the game, I might have had like 10 shots. And that, once again, thanks to YouTube, I'll never forget that game. Whoever won that was gonna just roll, because it was such a tight game. I've never seen so many people in Merrimack College. Still to this day, looking back at those videos, there was 10 people deep standing up along the boards. It was pretty nerve-wracking for a bunch of high school kids to be in that scenario where it was such a big rivalry, but that was for sure probably the best game I've ever been a part of.
It was an unbelievable experience from start to finish. That was always our goal, was to get there and bring it home.
It was probably walking down that side entry with the bags and everything was probably the most incredible part of my hockey career.
It was about as good as it gets for a 17-year-old, a 17-year-old hockey player to show up for something like that.
You get on the bus and you just kind of like, all right, this is it. This is our chance. And it was a really fun experience for a bunch of kids.
When you come out, and I'll never forget that either, coming out onto the ice, you couldn't see the home or our fans, so you couldn't really see them till you came around the corner and looked back, but they pretty much, the whole city of Gloucester filled the bottom half of the garden, which was, I mean, that'll get your heart pumping any day.
The yellow slickers are filling up the whole lower bowl.
I was lucky enough to go back in '06 as the goalie coach too, so I kind of had the chance to reiterate to those guys like what it was gonna feel like and to just soak it all in because it was such an awesome experience.
The scene is set, the crowd is ready. Gloucester's own Jennifer McKay, a fantastic rendition of the Star Spangled Banner. And what more can you say? State final action, what every kid that ever puts on a uniform anywhere dreams of, to come in here to the fleet. The fishermen have done it. The road administrative snafu. Riley shot, gets a skate, knocked over by Duxbury. Duxbury back, and shot, saves Sutera. Stump Steve Curley. Centering pass, Palazola got a piece of it. We have a whistle.
Yeah, so I think the first period was probably zeros, if I remember.
At the end of one period from the Fleet Center, we have scoreless.
0-0 after the first period. So it was us coming out maybe a little nervous. Obviously, big game. No one's ever played in a situation like that.
Shots were not that. There's 2-on-1 for the fishermen, though. Muniz puts the fishermen on top with a nice goal up and on crosses. Left shoulder. Puck got loose in center ice. Muniz picked it up. Muniz is a goal scorer, and he puts the fishermen on the board. 36 seconds into the second period. Gloucester takes a 1-0 lead. Now picked up shot. Sutera, glove save. Muniz on the rush. Muniz on the defenseman. Muniz shot to goal! Oh, what a beautiful goal by Paul Muniz! Prettier than the first one, if that's possible. And the crowd can't believe it. Now Curley to a screen, loose puck, made it fun, and it's a goal off the backhander. Keith the Miro. Off the backhander. Third period, Muniz out front looking for the hat trick. Matero on the rebound. Shot to goal. No red light, but there doesn't have to be as they celebrate behind the net. And in comes Riley. Riley walking in, pulls it across. Can it go? Kevin Riley from the far side. As the cross can't recover. 5 in the last 2 periods. And they get another goal. Off the faceoff. Jason Alonso. Wins the face-off, puck loose. So now the fishermen onto the ice to celebrate. Sticks are flying, gloves are off. And Gloucester has done what they set out to do. They won the state Division II hockey title.
Looking back on it, you kind of remember the big stuff. You remember being in the building. I remember the celebration afterwards. Like you see the picture that was the newspaper picture. Like I remember where I was in the group of players with the coaches and all that. Like who might have been holding the trophy, who was kind of laying across the ice. You know, it was a pretty awesome experience just in general.
I mean, it was just incredible. Like I'm just getting the chills talking about it, as silly as that sounds. But like I said, I'll remember that day forever. I'll remember the bus ride home. I'll remember the escort through the city. I'll remember all the people that were out, and I think it was even the whole parking lot at O'Malley was full when we got back. I remember just family being there. My grandparents got to see it. It was just awesome.
That kind of experience is not really something that comes along more than once or maybe a couple times for some people, you know.
For us, it was the best feeling because it was just all of us. We played Cape Ann all the way through. You know, you look up in the stands, your family and your friends are all there cheering you on. It's just Gloucester's a great town to win in. I mean, the community travels, and you know they pack the place. And I mean, if anybody plays high school hockey, that should be the goal, and we'll be there rooting you on.
One-goal leads in hockey are the most nerve-wracking scenarios in all sports. You can't convince me otherwise. And while Danvers may have been through an up-and-down season, in rivalry tilts, the best tends to be brought out of every opponent.
We knew we were playing down to the level for a little bit, but we knew we would come out with it. And, it was a hard-fought game, but we were getting a little scared. It was tough to score the first time, but we knew some would fall, and we were getting, doubling their shots pretty much that game.
Who has it? Novello stays on side. Jordan Sable Terry. Rebound to right. Chris Novello ties the game at 2. A short-handed goal by Chris Novello. Gets through. Out front to Cunningham. Score! Right, Cunningham. He's thinking over beat on that one. Looks like a changeup in baseball. I was like driving to Sully. Yeah, you just such a shitty goal. Yeah. One more. Let's have some fun.
Give me some energy, We're playing good hockey. One period. One period means win your shift, okay? We're going out there like we're down a goal and we're pissed off. We're playing with a sense of urgency, a sense of desperation. This is a game to stay above 500, so we are playing with a sense of desperation, a sense of urgency. Okay, that means every shift, 30 seconds, get off. 30 seconds, good energy, make a hit, get off. Okay? Third guy high. Huge in this period. Okay? We got caught with 3 guys puck chasing in the forecheck a couple times that period. Third guy's got to stay high and really be swivel-headed and back check smartly. Okay? But, we keep moving the puck the way we're moving, you keep your speed the way you're skating, we're going to open this up, okay? We're not playing scared, we're not playing to not lose, we're playing to score a couple more goals this period, okay? Are you with me on that? Coach.
If 1993 and 98 were the underdog tales, 2006 was the team of destiny. Safe to say, the day of the state championship was circled on every Gloucester hockey player's calendars, well before the season ever began.
Well, we grew up, I would say, probably the majority of the team all played together growing up, and we always had success in every level we played, always competing for championships. So we always knew coming in that when we had the core in the 05-06 season to make a deep run. The year before, we lost in the first round, but we had a real good year. So coming in, we returned most of our team. I'd say about 90% of the team came back from the year before. So, like I said, we had high expectations. Everyone knew what we had to do to win, and we just knew if we put it together and played hard the whole year that we would have a chance to, compete for a title.
The expectations had been there probably since we were 14 years old, to be honest, 13, 14 years old, and we all played together since we were 6 years old, and we didn't lose a lot of kids to the Catholic schools or the prep schools, and we all stayed together. We had a really tight group of kids, and we definitely had a very high expectation going into that year, and it's a lot of pressure for sure, and the journey was incredible.
From top to bottom, this team was loaded with talent.
The biggest strength of that team is that, at the high school hockey level, if you have 3 legitimate forward lines, and then some great defensemen and good goaltending. So our depth was remarkable, and we had Derek DeCoste, Zach Borowski, Andrew Fulford was our first line, Josh Sala, Tom Sala, and myself in the second line. And then our third line, Cam Scola, Brett Biondo, and Kyle Barry.
Yeah, well, first we had Tom Sala. He was our captain. I mean, he was our leader the whole year. He was the junior captain. He was an assistant before that. And whenever we needed a big play, he always stepped up. And with Eric Schlichty in net, who was, basically our Tim Thomas, if you were to compare us to the Bruins. I mean, he made every save possible. He stood in his head, double overtime win versus St. Mary's. He carried us. I mean, we really had a great core. Mikey Borowski, shut down every top center, forward. Norm Macfarland, penalty killing, had a clutch short-handed goal versus Coyle Cassidy. So, I mean, those were the standouts, but I mean, we had a great team from top to bottom.
When you can roll 3 lines throughout a game, and then you get late in third periods, it helps a ton to be able to have fresh legs because you played 3 lines all game long. I think that because of the expectations early on, the coaches put together a really tough schedule to prepare us, and I think it helped us immensely. To be honest, I don't know that we would have, you never know, but I'm not sure we would have won the state championship without playing that schedule in the regular season and building that confidence that, when you're out there and you're in these tight games against Division I schools and in Catholic schools, it gives you the confidence that you can hang with anybody, and I think it played a big role in our state title run.
Well, I mean, we always just loved playing against the best, so whenever we played against the top teams, it always brought the best out of us.
Befitting the fact that this episode takes place during a back-and-forth game versus Danvers, as the defining game of the 2006 title team came against their hated rival up the road.
I remember pulling into the rink an hour early and the parking lot being full.
We came on the ice and you couldn't see any brown in the bleachers. I mean, it was packed.
I think we were 8-0 and they were 7-1. It was a huge game. We were down 4-1.
The year before, Danvers actually beat us in the first round. We swept them, then they upset us in the first round. So coming into that game, we were all up for it. I think we were tied for first place, so not only was it revenge, but it was for first place in the conference. And we went down 4-1, had a miracle comeback.
I've witnessed firsthand the crowds that filled the bleachers of the tank when times are very good. I can only imagine what that atmosphere was like.
Personally, for me, it was special because this rink's named after my grandmother, so, we all just wanted to win. That's all we cared about the whole time.
"17-3 records mean little in playoff hockey. A 3-1 first-round win over Wilmington would eventually be considered the easiest win of the entire tournament. What ensued on the road to the Garden was a run that kept the city of Gloucester and the state of Massachusetts on the edge of their seats.
every game we were tied going into the third period. There was no easy road to the championship for sure.
That depth, again, just allows you to roll 3 lines, and what we would do a lot is Tom would be playing forward, and then late in the game, he would move back to D, and at all times, you had either Mike Borowski or Tom Sala playing D, and then our second line hardly missed a beat because you'd take somebody from the third line, move them up to the second line, and it hardly impacted our second line. So that depth in that North Reading game, again, it's just these close games and these late 1-goal games, and you just have so much energy because you're rolling 3 lines all game.
Yeah, that North Reading game, I know we were down 2-1 late, and Norm buried a couple goals, and we just hung on as a team. I would say just the whole tournament run was just everyone stepping up. I could probably point out every game there was a different player who stepped up and made a difference in order for us to, go the distance. That North Final game is probably the craziest game I've ever been a part of.
We played them earlier in the year. It was a huge game for us because it was a big test. We were with them the whole game, and we left and we all looked at each other and were like, we can beat that team. We totally can beat that team. Everybody on that team had a will to win, a desire to win more than anything, and it just stayed throughout the whole game. A late goal to tie it, and then that shifted the momentum completely, and the game was just back and forth. Eric Schlichty made a ton of huge saves.
Legend has it, this game was the game that made the MIA institute the shootout after double overtime for the playoff format. At the time, under MIA rules, and considering how late the game was running, if no one scored by the end of double overtime, they were gonna stop, come back the next day, and resume the game where they left off.
Andrew Fulford has a puck in the corner.
Caught it, went to put it down, I got thrown in the corner.
Look behind his back, fires it out front.
I mean, it miraculously went through like 6 legs and sticks.
I remember in that moment just saying, I can't believe we're going to the Garden. It's really happening.
The fishermen were headed where they all believed they were destined for all along. But the last hurdle in their journey towards hockey immortality lay an undefeated juggernaut that doesn't even exist anymore.
This city is really special, and the amount of support, I think you have a week leading up to that game, and the amount of support, signs all around town, absolutely insane. You knew that the place was going to be packed, and you come out onto the ice, and it's like you're in this bowl. It's almost like you're in a fish bowl, and you look around, and it's like, it's just so big, but it's somehow full, and it's a lot of Gloucester people. I would say 8,000, 10,000 Gloucester people, and you're just soaking it all in. And then you have to try to reset to remember that you're trying to win a game, and it's not just about being at the Garden.
The bus ride there was crazy because, I mean, you take the drive there as a kid always going to watch the Bruins, and all of a sudden you're pulling up, walking into the bowels of the arena, getting ready to play, and then you skate out, and the first thing you notice is the ice is the same size. It's crazy, but then you look in the bowl, we had the whole lower bowl was filled, and I would say it was probably like 70% Gloucester had that place filled, so it was a pretty special feeling to see the majority of the town come out to support us for that game. We were ready to win. I mean, beating St. Mary's, that was everything. That gave us all the confidence in the world, and I just remember no one thought we could win. I mean, it's a cliche thing to say, but really, us and maybe the people in the town were the only ones who believed in us. Everyone else, you could see message boards or whatever, we're all saying we were gonna get smoked. We came out early, Mikey laid out their leading scorer going across the blue line. Norm had one of the craziest goals I've ever saw. He dangled like 4 people, went top corner for a shorthanded goal to put us up 1-0.
It totally broke the ice. The nerves are there. There's no doubt. You're on a big stage and you're playing a really good team that hasn't given up a goal. There's no denying it.
Once we got the first goal, we knew we could play with them and we could have the chance to win the game.
Tom was our leader all year, junior captain. We had a bunch of people who made a lot of plays and played a lot of minutes, but Tom was everywhere.
And he actually made a rush. He made probably 3 or 4 times already in that game. He didn't pull it off.
You know, he had a lot of rushes like that throughout the year, and he just carried it up the left wing. And
he had the whole top of the net.
Next thing you know, he's at the red line, then he's at the blue line. He goes around one guy, and then he comes in. He doesn't have a lot of space. There's just a little bit there.
I can't even describe what it was after that. Everything just like went blank. It was great.
Just a special, special moment, and just feel really lucky to be a part of it.
On this day I will live.
It's crazy, especially because you think all the work we put in, like I said at the beginning. I mean, we've played our whole lives together from ages probably 5 to 18. We played in countless championship games, tournaments, so to have our shot to win the one we've been striving for our whole lives together and to have it happen was, you know, you don't get that opportunity often, so it was a real special feeling.
It's impossible for me to answer that question without talking about the town, the tradition of this city in hockey, and it's had its ebbs and flows, but you know, we grew up in this rink playing hockey over there, you know, shooting back and forth and watching that 98 team, and I even remember the 93 team, and you look up to those kids. You totally do when you're that age, and then you go up through the high school level, and it's nice to see now at the rink, this place is packed again, and there's kids everywhere running around, and they're looking up to these kids, and hopefully they can have the same thing happen soon, and the entire city will be behind them. It happens every single time. It's a magical feeling, completely magical. There's no doubt about it. We come back in town, we're in a bus you know, a big Greyhound bus, and we're on top of the roof, and they parade us into town, and then, you know, you're a high school kid. You feel like you're a pro because of the way you're being treated for the next, you know, several months at home, and everywhere you go, everybody's talking about, saying something about it. And you're with, again, your best friends in the whole world, who are still my best friends in the whole world today. And, you know, it's something nobody can ever take away from you. It's incredible.
Colby Jewell, having missed 5 games due to injury, was still shaking off the rust from his long stint on the IL. And in the waning moments of the third period, with their season on the line, his team needs him now more than ever.
Over to Curley. The Jewell score! Colby Jewell kept the Fishermen to lead again.
Yeah, my line mates definitely helped me out. They were moving the puck a lot faster that game than the past games. We really changed the momentum that game, and we were moving the puck north to south really fast.
Couldn't connect. Jewell has it. Jewell. Oh! What a shot by Colby. He kept the corner. Find the 3 Fishermen. Now they got some space.
Clinging to a 5-3 lead, and the ice firmly tilted in their favor, it falls on senior goalie Riley DeHaan to slam the door shut.
Riley D, take a bow. Okay, passing the puck again. We found our passing, and guess what? We're going to win games now. Okay. Love the puck movement tonight. Started everybody. Cunny's line was moving the puck, fantastic, and everybody else was moving the puck, fantastic. D, loved it. Loved the puck movement tonight. That's my first, second, and third star. So great team win. Team win.
Gentlemen.